Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing very well. Something from Racing Snake, subscribed 7 months. Hi Cap, great content as always. F-18 mishap crash after losing an engine intermittent at takeoff from a carrier, and we've got a YouTube video. So the YouTube video is where we start. It is a really good video put together by what you haven't seen. We're not going to watch the whole thing because it's quite long, but we'll just start us off here. It is from the Theodore Roosevelt, which we have with DCS. It's a Super Hornet, so it's not the one we have. We have the Legacy Hornet, but they're not that different in the way that they fly. So we've got the tracking camera from the superstructure of the carrier here. Unfortunately, it only picks the guy up once it's halfway through his emergency, or almost all the way through his emergency. But we do have the black box data, which we'll have a look at in a bit. It's taken off, and all we see is it going into the sea. Parachute out there. Okay, so there's not a vast amount we can learn from this because it's too late. So what we can do is get to the more interesting bit. Now this is an analysis of the black box data. In fact, we can turn that on there. So engine page here with all the various engine stuff. We've got the FCS with the flight control systems, and you can see the different channels for each system and the type of systems and the current settings in degrees. We've got the IFE here, or very close to the IFE. In fact, it is the IFE. So this is engine fuel control, nozzle position, RPM of the engine in percent, temperature. We've got pilot input. So this is amazing from the black box. Exactly where the pilot stick is here. Forward stick, aft stick, left stick, right stick. This is not the engine. This is the actual stick position, the throttle position of the engine, if that makes sense. Rudder position there. A simulated HUD here from what we can see with all the HUD information, and just a 3D graphic just so you can see what's going on. He's going out with a big loadout. I can't tell exactly what, but you know, an average loadout for an F model. Starting his normal configuration with his flaps down and obviously his gear down and whatnot. Right, the FA-18 bureau number, one that there was assigned to the Fighting Checkmates VFA 211. Report indicates that the part way down the carrier's catapult, sailors noticed small bursts of flames coming out of the jet's exhaust. Immediately after leaving the carrier deck, the aircrew experienced reduced thrust, and they decided to return for an emergency landing. The investigation report quotes the accident pilot as stating, "Every step of the way I was trying to fight to save the aeroplane. There are probably a couple of steps I may have done a little differently, just to be 100% honest. The investigation found that the pilot was at fault for mishandling the situation he found himself in. The report asserts that he tried to do too much too quickly, and in doing so failed to select the correct flap configuration, angle of bank, and engine throttle speed to safely land with one engine. After rapid descent and dumping of munitions and fuel, an uncontrollable deviation to the left set in, and less than 2 minutes after takeoff, the weapons system officer ejected himself and the pilot about 2 miles from the carrier. Although the pilot's parachute opened before he impacted the water, the weapons officer did not. Consequently, he was seriously damaged but survived. Injured, the pilot was experienced heavy bleeding and reported shooting pain up and back after this recovery in the sea. The loss was valued at more than $86 million. Navy ascribed the mishap to FOD, foreign object debris, and pilot error. During this mishap, there was a rush to initiate a landing sequence with an aircraft that still needed significant time to be properly configured for a single engine landing. The investigation found that the jet's left engine had likely ingested the catapult wake brake splash guard, which was missing half its length. The investigation found other FOD ingestion incidents on the carrier. In a bit of comic relief, the report indicates in those incidents the debris had originated from ball bearings in the vacuums used to clean the deck of foreign object debris. The day of the Super Hornet crash, 9 ball bearings were found during FOD walks. The vacuum cleaners have since been modified throughout the fleet to eliminate the ball bearings. So it's sucked in the guard for the catapult. Now to the really interesting bit. You know, let's analyse this, and none of us are professionals, but it's interesting to talk about, discuss, and argue. One thing that annoys me is we don't have a yaw slip gauge, which is a really useful thing to have, because yaw slip's going to be really important here. So let's start up. So he's done his wipe. He's now going to wipe. With his engine's up, you can see he's at mil power. He's going to take off mil power by the looks of it. Catapult shoots. Full power. Mil power.
Engine left.
Stop. He's commanding the left engine at mil power, but it has indeed actually shut down. It's down to 79. RPM, which is pretty much idle. It's just generating pretty much no thrust at the moment. The nozzle's changing. It's taking no fuel in anymore. It's just not producing any good stuff anymore. And you can correlate that, I'm sure, with this information here. Note also as commanding mill power, he's got his stick. Well, it's pretty much central, slightly right, slightly forward. And he's heard that warning about the left engine. So expect things to change now. He knows what's going on.
Engine left.
So he's powering down left engine and he's gone full power on right engine. And I'm not a Hornet pilot, but I would imagine that's a pretty sensible thing to do. So he's powered down his left engine, as he should do. Extra power on the right engine. Interestingly, that's not full, but it's probably just a very minor error. 147 knots. So we're at pretty safe speed, and we're at 200 meters radar. So we're at an okay altitude for the moment. Still got a bit of right stick. Interesting, no rudder. RC, what do you think about that? Because as soon as I feel a loss of power in an asymmetric power, I get on the rudder. However, I'm not a real pilot, so that may be the wrong thing to do. Any thoughts about that?
No, I don't know.
Alright, let's carry on.
Engine left. Engine left.
Powered all the way down on left engine to idle, which is as low as you can go without turning it off. Still right roll and neutral stick in terms of aft forward. And he's kind of bouncing between mill and afterburner, which presumably is just a kind of nervous reaction rather than being full afterburner and or mill. 143 knots, 207. He's gained a bit of altitude and lost a bit of speed, but otherwise everything's relatively safe. At the moment he's still in full flap configuration and he still has his load of bombs or whatever the hell was taking. Here's something weird, guys. I just noticed his velocity vector's down below the horizon, even though he's gaining altitude. So there's something weird going on with the FCS a bit, or at least the simulation of it. In fact, I'm just reading the stream. His FCS has gone offline. Look at that. I've never seen that before. What I was saying, if we just scroll back, now this is really weird. I was not expecting to see this. The one thing that's a bit weird is that velocity vector there, which is actual direction of travel, has gone down below the horizon, which is a bit weird considering it's still climbing. So something's wrong there, but let's just carry on anyway. And all of a sudden, stop. You see these errors? All of a sudden, channels 1, 2, 3, and 4 in left stab, right stab, trailing edge flaps, left and right in service valve, shut-off valves 1 and 2 have all gone down. So basically, critical elements of the flight control system have all shut down. I've never seen that before. Once the lift generator comes off, those specific channels go offline. So we think at this point it's because the left engine's gone down, which is hooked up to an electric generator which powers parts of this FCS. However, it's probably in order. I imagine something, a backup is going to kick in. As you can see, it comes back online shortly, I think. You see it's come back online there? So it appears that an automatic backup system of some sort has come back online and taken control of that. And it didn't seem to affect him massively. So it's just an interesting thing to point out. I've got the stream up here on the left as well, because we've got guys including actual aircraft maintainers. Interestingly now, he's gone up full power on the left engine. Do you reckon he's trying to do a restart sequence, RC?
Probably, or just trying to maintain control. He doesn't have much speed.
Well, there's no reason to pump the power up on the left engine. He knows it's broken. One would imagine, I think, he's probably trying an air restart for that left engine.
Yeah, maybe.
Which is interesting, because it's only been a few seconds since this thing actually happened. But, okay, let's carry on. So to me, it seems like a short time to start an air restart. And maybe there should be more important things he's doing. However, again, pure speculation. He's going to realise it doesn't work, or it's not restarting. Back to mill power on it. It all seems very panicky to me, which you'd expect. Now he rolls over to the left here. You see he's got right stick, but it's actually rolling over to the left, and presumably that's due to asymmetric thrust, since that obviously only one engine is actually producing thrust, the right engine, so it's having to arrest that with right stick. Now this is really interesting. The gear come down at this point, which again, it seems like a big kind of panicky fluster at the moment. Gear come down, which I have seen no reason for the gear to come down at this point. But all you're going to do is induce drag on the airframe by doing this. It's clearly not ready to land at the moment. I found that very strange, why he would put gear down. We've also got flicks of right rudder here, you see. He's seeing that the plane is slipping, of course, because it's inducing yaw torque from that right engine, which is on full afterburner, and so he's trying to cancel that with a bit of right rudder. It's not very much right rudder. I'd expected to see a bit more. Like I said, the one major problem is here we don't get to see the yaw slip gauge, which is going to be incredibly important. Also, plenty of right stick at the moment, trying to arrest that left roll. So some weird things. It's gone again full power on the left engine again, which I don't really see the point. I guess he's trying to get every drop out of that engine. It's 85% at the moment, which is producing, well, very little power, and no obvious FCS failures at the moment. So he appears to have full control of the plane still. 144 knots. It's not great, but it's flying. Okay, he's getting the roll back under control now, and he's coming off the rudder. Still full power on the left engine, even though it's not really doing much. And these stick controls are going to be subconscious. He's not really thinking about this stick control. He's just flying that. It's all being done by his kind of passive subconscious. He's thinking about how to save the plane. What do I need to do? Working the problem. He is starting to lose altitude, speed, sorry, but that's only because he's gaining altitude here. There's nothing intrinsically wrong, I don't think, with that. 140 knots is still just about safe, and 600 meters. That's you know, good. Sorry, feet. I've been saying meters, feet. Radar altitude. That's, you know, he's got some air there. 600 feet, 140 knots. Everything looks fine. No rudder still, and he's got some right stick there. Interestingly, the angle of attack is very high, and I haven't been noticing angle of attack very much, and I should come back 3 and 3. So angle of attack is there, by the way. Let's just have a quick peek. 8 degrees. Now here's the problem. Angle of attack is going up higher, and this is the thing that will kill you, as well as your yaw slip. Angle of attack is getting higher and higher, and that is going to induce massive amounts of drag, which will eventually stall the plane. And we're up to 303, so that's 12 degrees angle of attack, 11 degrees angle of attack, 12 angle of attack, 12 angle of attack, 14 angle. So here is where he's hitting his real problem now, in that we're up to 14 degrees angle of attack. Angle of attack's got too high. Yes, indeed, the guy's saying push the nose down. I mean, the gear needs to come up, the stalls need to come off at this point, I think, and he's got to get that angle of attack under control. Let's carry on, just based on what we've done with our simulator.
Left.
14 degrees angle of attack, so it's only going one way from here unless he can get the angle of attack down.
Engine left. Engine left.
He's come off the throttle again on the left engine. He's got some right rudder there. The plane is turning left, and he's going real full stick deviation now. Full stick right, full stick forward. So he's doing good in that can help get the angle of attack under control in terms of forward stick. However, you're up 15 degrees at this point. At some point, it simply becomes irrecoverable in terms of angle of attack, and I think we're about to hit that point. And this is the really interesting bit. This is what's kind of got us arguing here, is that the FCS state is gone. No angle of attack. Something's gone wrong with the angle. Maybe, I really don't know, maybe it's got too slow for the angle of attack meter to read. Let me know what you think, but for some reason your angle of attack is gone, your velocity vector's gone, it's zeroed out, it's not taking any data for some reason, and he's now stalling. It's coming down in terms of altitude. His angle of attack, although it says 0, is 15 or 16, you know, the plane is going to stall. Data's come back online, so we had an interruption of the FCS for some reason, for reasons we don't know. He's trading speed for altitude, so the good thing is he's getting his angle of attack back under control, or trying, while by losing altitude and increasing speed. Interesting, it's now having to do full stick right to keep the thing from turning left, even though it's still turning left. So this is full stick right, it's trying to make it go right. Interesting, still no rudder. I'm sure there's, you know, I'm sure he knows what it's doing. Angle of attack still 15. Whoa! And again, FCS failure or sensor failure or something. Oh wow, look, he's gone down to 230 feet. And the gear's coming up. Too late for that. At this point, I think we're just too late. And the speed's actually okay, 150 knots. This plane can fly at 150 knots. Oh, the stores came off. So he punched the doorbell, or yeah, he must have punched the doorbell, mustn't he? Where did they come? Instructions of the stores here. Stores have gone. So he's punched the stores, so the plane's going to fly much better, and the gear coming up, so he's taking the drag off the plane, taking the weight off the plane. The guys are saying maybe it's too slow to bother with rudder. Okay. 150 knots, and the FCS has gone again. Again, no angle of attack. No problems here, so I really don't know what that problem is. And he's about to hit the sea, it's at 180 feet. It's aft stick now, right, full right and aft stick. Imagine how terrifying this is. Just to keep it sort of in the air, he's full right stick all the time, and it's not going right. I mean, how weird is that, right? And aft, he's about 40% aft as well. So just trying to stop him crashing into the sea here. 15 degrees angle of attack. I would say this is irrecoverable at this point. Full right stick, 25% aft stick, and stop. Real problems now. He's pulled too much aft stick. He's went up to 16 plus, or I think that was angle of attack. Even though it says 0 again, he's now getting to stall speed at 136. And we had a beep, and if we look here, we can see that angle of attack is all 4 channels have failed. Let's go back and have a look at a little closer to that. So I don't know what that is. Electrical fault, generator fault, temporary or permanent, I don't know. This plane should register angle of attack at pretty much any speed. Right, the boys are saying that the pitot tubes are failing because he's too slow and the angle of attack is no longer calculating the airspeed properly or whatnot. Pushback I've got with that is the pitot tube should be able to register over 48 knots. I don't see anything wrong. This plane should be able to fly absolutely fine at 140 knots, 15 degrees angle of attack, and his angle of attack sensor should work fine. His speedo should work fine, and I know that because they can do this at air shows. They can fly at 110 knots, 30 degrees of alpha, and all of their instruments work fine. I think it's an electrical problem, something to do with a generator fault that's causing parts of this FCS to go online, I think. I see no problem with any of these instruments working at 137 knots. Let's carry on. Now, this is really interesting. Look at those elevons wiggle. When I say elevons, I mean, so what do I mean? Stabilators. Look at these stabilators wiggle when the FCS goes nuts. Look, normal stabilators. That happens. We lose our AOA and our FCS, and the stabilators go nuts. Watch these, and you can see them. In fact, the deviation up here. Watch this. Look at them. They just go nuts, wiggling about. Something's gone wrong there. That's not the pilot doing that. And then that's the end of the simulation. He goes and crashes. I'm going to just put my thing out there. I think it seemed to handle the situation badly. Gear out, gear up, stalls off too late. All sorts of problems. But I think he suffers a problem that he shouldn't have here. You know, he's finally got some stuff going good. He's got rid of his stall, so he's got rid of tons of potential drag, you know. He's also put his gear up, so he's got rid of lots of drag. So he's much more aerodynamic. And then, at this point, the FCS just goes offline at what I would consider perfectly decent flying parameters at 141 knots, perfectly fine, and it's going to be an alpha of 16 or 17 degrees. It should fly. I mean, it may end up going to the sea, but it should fly, this plane. And yet the angle of attack sensor / FCS channels go offline at this point. At that point, it just goes nuts. And I can't see what the pilot did to make the FCS fail. Interestingly, even at 124 knots, he's trying to get the nose back under control here. He's forward sticking, but he's even ruddering there. It's too late now. You can see as soon as that yaw slips, just gets out of control. It's a spin. He's got to eject there. Right. We haven't got a F-18 pilot to talk to, so what we'll go and do is put this into DCS as best we can, see what happens in our simulation. We are in F-A-18Cs. This is not the same as the F model Super Hornet in the story that we're looking at, but I don't think it's going to be a million miles away. I think it's going to allow us to give a rough impression or a rough comparison. Got our FCS screen up here. The guy had his engine page up on the other one, so why don't we go and do that? Ping. You can see my stick there on the bottom left. You can see my throttle there. In fact, if I split that, throttle, you can see my rudder there. We're just going to run through. I'm going to lose an engine on the catapult. And in terms of ordnance, now we couldn't work out exactly what he had, so we've gone for our best guess. It's not particularly heavy loadout, but that's what we've got. There's a Mark 83s, one full bag, one teapot, and a pair of sidewinders. You go first, RC. So halfway down the cat, just cut your left engine and don't put it on again. You can see his RPMs on the bottom there. His angle of attack, his IAS. So we get much faster than that Super Hornet does. Doesn't look like we have a problem at all. You're accelerating. That is so different from what happened in real life to that Super Hornet. So in DCS, we just powered through, and it just powered through no problem at all. So I wonder why he had such problems. Let me just check everything's set up right. Flaps. Obviously, he didn't have full flaps. So I'm going to try with full flaps like we're pretty sure the guy would have had. Let's go full power here. Ah, in fact, I remember. We're doing it wrong, RC. He took off with mil power and only went full power after he realised there was a problem. That's why we're going so fast. Right, that's mil power. Right, it's a bit more like it. Ooh. It's still really easy to save. I just took off with mil power on one engine, the other pretty much spooled down. And I'm not even have to work hard. I don't have to dump my ordnance, but I probably could go and do a loop. Maybe not quite the loop, but it was really easy to go. I'm going to try that one more time. Maybe our Hornet has a much better power to weight ratio or something. There's something weird going on there. I'm going to mill power, and as soon as I start to shoot, I'm going to come down on the left throttle. Never above mill power. Realise there's a problem. Power on. There's no problem at all. I could probably do this with the engines off. I'm doing it with the engines off. We have no problems doing this in DCS at all. Even with mill power on one engine and the other one on its way spooling down. Which is weird, RC, because by the end of the cat, we're 170 knots, which really is the difference between life and death. But he is at 136 knots, which is 40 knots difference, which is a vast difference, really, when you think about this problem. I wonder, it seems that our catapult is 40 knots faster. We better go and try the super carrier quickly. Sorry this is taking so long, we're just not getting the results that we like, and we're just concerned about it. We might get some better results this time. And turn my stuff on there. I'm going to go to mill power on one engine, like he kind of was at the beginning there, RC. Other engine, I'm going to stick on idle. Hopefully it will let me shoot. I'm going to try and shoot now. There he goes. No, 186 by the time. I think we found the problem here, RC. I'm trying to ditch it. In the real life, the Theodore Roosevelt dumped us off the carrier at 136. In DCS, it's about 185. Did you notice that? So it's about 40 knots-ish more. And that really is the difference between life or death, because it means we've not got that horrible envelope of high angle of attack like the real pilot must have had. So, now I don't want to get myself in trouble here. I don't know what that real catapult shoots you at, but in DCS it's about, we peak at about 185 knots. The real life data footage, 136 knots. The stream is saying that 143 knots is what it should be. That kind of tallies with this. It looks like our catapult is dumping us off the end at 40 knots too high-ish. Okay, we're not giving up yet. We've shown that our supercarrier, our carrier, shoots us off the deck at an airspeed of approx 185 knots. So we're going to add a 49 knot tailwind so that our airspeed at the end of the catapult should be 136 as per what the Super Hornet had. So we're going to just measure a quick vector. So the BRC, or whatever that is there, is going to be 220. We're going to add a wind of 220 at 49 knots, and this is a weird thing to do, which is the 136 knots or near that peak as we hit the edge of the catapult. So let me try and get everything. So I'm watching that speedo like a hawk. Oh no, it's 190. What the hell? What's going on there, RC? Something ain't right. I was at 190 this time. So you can see IAS at the bottom there. That's 190 knots IAS, even though it's got a 40 knot rear wind. So we can only think the catapult is compensating for the wind to add an extra 40 knots, right? So it makes sure, so it's actually firing at us at 210 or 220 knots or something. There is no way to test this. It will make sure whatever happens that we are at an IAS of 185, 190 by the time we hit the end of the catapult, which means we can't test it like the real one did, because the real one launches at about 136. 170.
192 in my HUD.
Okay, so there's a difference of 25 at the moment. Let's just watch what your airspeed does here. You peaked at 230 apparently.
I never went above 190.
So I think we'll terminate the video there. You've seen the problems we've had reenacting this, that we cannot get the carrier to dump us off at any less than 185 thereabouts IAS. So that is our relation in terms of the airflow. So there's a problem there that I just can't get my head around. And why is it also so high as compared to what the real carrier seems to dump? And also I welcome your comments and feedback based on what we were talking about the FCS problems on the real Super Hornet footage and about how the pilot reacted to the situation. And we'll get talking. I hope you enjoyed it otherwise, and see you later.